not an issue of debate. The fact that Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is exalted far above the rest of the prophets of the world who came earlier to him or who may come later, this statement is not debatable as far as the Ahmadiyya faith in Islam is concerned. So this is why offhand I had to reject the wording which you quoted, because although I must have read it, but I never noticed this particular wording. All that I remembered was that Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, La tufaddiluni ala Musa. And now it has been pointed out to me, another version is also stated, that is, La tukhayyiruni ala Musa. So this is possible because that particular incident was related to Hazrat Moses, and that in those circumstances Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited his followers not to rub in the point and hurt the others' feelings. Why? As I have already mentioned, the Holy Quran leads us to the reason why. But that does not mean that it was a statement to the contrary. This inference is wrong. The contrary was not meant. The contrary of this statement is that Hazrat Moses is superior to me. This is what is not meant. This is what is wrong. What is said is, don't say it in the presence of the followers of Moses. Don't hurt their feelings. This is only what is meant. But that wording, that is a very difficult wording to reconcile, if that is true. But I don't believe it. Pardon?
It's on page 1809.
No, I believe it would be on page 1809 of that edition which you have seen. But I am telling you that this incident did not occur repeatedly. The incident occurred only once of that slapping of the face. This is a particular incident. And the other traditions which say Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used these words, La tukhayyiruni ala Musa, La tufaddiluni ala Musa. These traditions also refer to this exact incident. So he must have used either these words or those words which you have just mentioned. Our logic tends us to believe that these are most likely the words which Hazrat used. Later on some narrator forgot these exact words and he generalized these. This is a possibility. Yes, please.
What intercessions are? Sooner or later, the angels intercede, as the Quran says, it could be. وَكَمْ مِنْ مَلَكٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ لَا تُغْنِي شَفَاعَتُهُمْ إِلَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ أَنْ يَأْذَنَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَرْضَى. That if Allah wishes to special people, the angels can recommend or can intercede.
Yes.
As the Anbiya Allah Salam interceded, individual scale, also national scale. And people were saved in the plague.
You know, when you quote a verse of the Holy Quran categorically declaring that the angels can intercede and will intercede in some cases, why are you asking me whether they can or not? You have already quoted the Holy Quran.
What is the difference between the Anbiya, Mursaleen, Shafa'at, intercession?
So this should be the question. The question should be this, not that will they or can they, because you have already quoted the Holy Quran, so the issue is decided. Of course they will, they can. What you want to ask is perhaps, is there any difference between their intercession and the intercession of the prophets, or is one and the same thing?
I want that it's...
Is that what you want to know?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The fact is that intercession, the question of intercession, although it appears to be arbitrary, it is not so. Intercession must have a reason which should upset the ordinary law of justice. Sometimes when you decide the fate of your children, you decide it differently than when you decide the fate of other people's children when you are put in that position to give decisions. in the case of your own children, you have a greater right of possession and appropriation regarding your own children. So you don't follow just the laws of ordinary justice. But when you give decision regarding other people's children, then you are bound by the laws of justice because you don't appropriate anything there. So in case of God giving judgment, the former is applicable because he is the master of everything, he is the proprietor of everything, so he does not follow the strict laws of justice. Some other factors also come into play where forgiveness is concerned. For instance, if somebody is not, as far as his actions are concerned, is not passable, is not acceptable. In fact, if it is possible that somebody who has bad deeds to his credit so much that he should be outright rejected and declared to be a hellish soul by God, normally understanding the phenomena of good acts and bad acts and so on, sometimes the bad deeds of a person are so overwhelming that apparently this should be the verdict. But it is possible that that person has a deep love for God, of God, or deep fear of God, and that is so much pronounced in his personality, and that single factor is so liked by Allah that he wants to ignore his evil deeds and to forgive him for this only factor, for only this factor. Now, as far as human judges are concerned, they can't intercede in this regard, ordinary human judges. But Allah permits his prophets, because certain people again love his prophets so much, despite the fact that they are evildoers in so many things. They have not much to their credit as far as good deeds are concerned, but they are helpless in so many ways. They are slaves to their habits, to the circumstances in which they were born, and so many other factors, social factors. So they want to do good deeds, they love to do good deeds, they are deeply hurt inside in their conscience when they are compelled to do bad deeds, yet they are enslaved by that habit or by that compulsion of which there are so many factors responsible. At the same time, they love the Holy Prophet so much that at a time of a call, they would readily offer their lives for the sake of that Prophet. Allah knows this fact. So Allah may permit the Holy Prophet to intercede for the sake of such a person. Or the Holy Prophet may love somebody for certain reasons of his own, yet according to the ordinary standards of justice, he may not pass. He may be thrown to hell, normally speaking. But Allah knows the regard of the Holy Prophet for that person, so he may permit him to intercede on his behalf. And this is the general conduct of God, which is found in every such situation. Wherever there is a possible excuse for forgiveness, Allah adopts that excuse as against punishment. If Allah had not done that, a very great majority of the people would go to hell. Even from among the believers, people know human beings from outside, and it is in the nature of man to hide his crimes, his evil thoughts, his bad acts. So most of the people who live normally, ordinary pious life, may not live a pious life in reality. And all this is known to God. If God were to punish for such crimes as are hidden from the sight of human beings, a very great majority